very quickly, just a little wisp, but training helps you see these little wisps and acknowledge them when they come by. It was, oh, I suppose the cookies are all done. Did you get that? Did you? I said, oh, I suppose the cookies are all gone. Yum. And then after you do that yum practice for a long, long time, or maybe short time for you, but I'm still working on it, obviously, then it gradually morphs into the ho-hum practice. Oh, that old thing again. That old thing again. I'm not actually, we're online now? Okay, I'm not actually, doesn't seem as if, hello? I'm not actually going to ask for questions about this that I read to you. I would like you to take it within, all right? With this kind of contemplation, I encourage you to cultivate what I call the inward attention. That's mind looking within at mind itself. And it's a noticeable drawing within of the attention, the inquiry, and there's an energetic response in the body when you actually make that connection, and you will recognize that response. Okay? So that's your mission should you choose to accept it. So the teaching on verse 22 continues in verse 23 and 24 when the desired, the desired and the dreaded or the hated or the not desired come your way with the teaching given on verse 22, and of course the 7 points that will solve all our problems forever. You have now the way of relating to the desired and the dreaded, or the attractive and the repugnant, or the beautiful and the ugly, or the appreciated and the disdained, or the loved and the disliked. You now have a way of relating to them as manifestations that are actually your own mind. And the appearances of the desired or the dreaded will arise, and with this discipline that you're committing to in relation to verse 22, the contemplation practice, when the appearances of the liked and the disliked arise, remember that they are your own mind and that they are insubstantial. They exist, here they are, and yet not in the way they appear to exist, because they are composite, they're coming and going, they're insubstantial, and craving and pushing away then tend more easily to simply subside when you recognize that you're reacting to something in your own mind, that it is your own mind that you're reacting to, that has no objective appearance, no objective existence outside your perception of it and your reaction to it. It does in the relative reality, but we're talking about ultimate reality here. This term that it's a big term, isn't it? Ultimate reality, or absolute reality. This is enormous. Aren't we isn't there a certain amount of bravado on our part to think that we could speak about this? I mean, I just got a little kind of, oh, Barbara, you should stop talking, you know? Because what really has one to say about the Absolute? In our present condition, we could say, I want it, or I'm terrified of the thought of it, but we don't have a lot of words. We don't have a lot of words for this. And we also think we haven't got any experience of it. Many of us think we have no direct experience of it. But when we cultivate this inward attention, this is mind looking at mind. Look within, I just see what's in front of me. That is the proof of verse 22. Did you get that? Appearances are one's own mind. So I say to you, look at your mind. Look within at your mind. So you look within, eyes open. We're going to practice this way, but eyes are open, not staring like this, but just gazing within, not closed eyes though, for this kind of practice. and you gaze within, and I say, what do you see? You say, well, I just see. I see nothing, meaning nothing special. I see just what's here in front of me. And I say, yes, appearances are your own mind. And then we do it again. And I say, okay, gather the attention within, cultivate that inward attention, gaze within. And then I say, what do you see? And you're a little nervous and you say, I don't see anything. That doesn't mean it's blank, as if you had a ping pong ball over your hip. It means you don't see anything other than appearances there, but you're not looking at them, right? You're actually gazing within, so you're not actually looking outwardly, you're looking within. You still see, you say, I see nothing. And then I say, Tilopa said, he was Naropa's teacher, Tilopa said, seeing nothing is the supreme insight. And then I say, now contemplate these things. And you say, how do I do that? I'm clearly not seeing my mind. You know, I'm very frustrated. This is my script, right? I'm frustrated. I'm not looking, you're telling me I'm looking directly at the nature of mind, and I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing the people in front of me, and I'm seeing, what's moving in my mind as it always is, and so I'm not seeing that. And I'm saying, you're looking right at it. At all times, in all circumstances, you're looking right at your true mind. But you're not recognizing it. That's all that's missing, is the moment of recognition. Moment by moment by moment. Seeing without recognizing is our condition. But we always see it because there's nothing other than that. How could you not see that which is the only thing that is? Of course you're seeing it. These are conundrums, aren't they? When the frustration arises, and really I use the word frustration advisedly. Frustration often has anger involved with it. You get so frustrated, you feel as if you're hopeless, as you're a terrible Dharma student, or maybe the Dharma is just a bag of tricks, and maybe your teacher has more confidence in you than is wanted, and why does the teacher keep saying, it's good what you're doing, it's good, you don't see anything, good, just keep practicing. And you say, what? Practicing on what? Practicing. Gaze within, cultivate the inward attention, and ask to be helped to recognize that which you are always looking directly at. Because there is nothing but that. Everything is that. One of our are 7 points. So I feel as if what I'm doing here is shaking your confidence like this and telling you to have confidence. But please, have confidence. Because we're talking about ultimate reality. That's what we can have confidence in. We can't necessarily describe it. We can't feel it or taste it or say, okay, here it is. Look, here's mine. Let me see yours. You know? It's not like that. It's what is. And we are never separate from that. We are never able to see anything other than that. But we are at this stage and in our present condition mostly not recognizing what it is we're looking directly at. And then we have moments of recognition. When you have a moment of recognition, speak to your teacher. First of all, acknowledge what you've seen, what you've recognized. Acknowledge your experience to yourself. Don't just shoo it away. And then speak to your teacher or a teacher you have confidence in. Say, here's what I experienced. Here's what I saw. Of course, that is one of life's great unpredictable experiences when you ask your teacher to comment on your experience. You have no idea what's going to happen next. But you have no idea what's going to happen next anyway. Are you guys okay? Just checking. So, when the experiences of the desired and the dreaded, or the liked and the disliked arise, your confidence in your relative reality grasp on the nature of things, your confidence in that has been a little bit shaken now. There's just a little tremor, right? And the tendency is to grasp harder once that starts to happen. It's like, oh, was that an earthquake? Let me take shelter. You know. So there's a little bit of uncertainty now in the mind. Well, what does this actually mean? How can I see that which is not seeable? Why is it I'm not recognizing what I'm being told that I'm looking right at, and so on. So there's a little uncertainty. The frustration that may arise with that is a form of grasping. It's because you're grasping for the usual methods to convey to you something about what is usual only in the sense that it is in which you've gotten things intellectually. Yeah? And so there's some frustration. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the frustration. Just recognize it as grasping. And then let it go, let it go, let it all go. That's one of my mantras. It's very powerful, actually. Okay? And when the desired and the dreaded and the liked and the disliked present themselves to you now in your experience or in the world of appearances, now I invite you to just kind of smile knowingly. Just smile knowingly, kind of like, yeah, I got your number. I know something about you now. You're not quite as convincing as you used to be. Oh, but I wish you were. Because that was really cool, having all those attachments and all those repugnances. That was really cool way to live. Always blaming things on other people and events. And that was really, it was dramatic, but it was easier in some ways because I didn't have to take responsibility for all the appearances of all of relative reality. But actually, oddly, it's easier when you do. Because our mind is our experience. And we can shape that by our intention and by our practice. In other words, we take the desired direction, which aspiration is showing us, the path of aspiration, and we cultivate those kinds of experiences that support us in walking in that direction. and we gradually divest ourselves from, or distance ourselves from, or engage less in, or invest less in the kinds of experiences and even the kinds of inner questioning and rumination and inner activity that take us in the other direction than the aspiration to which we newly commit as aspiring bodhisattvas. Yeah? All the way along the path there are markers and choice points, and they happen hundreds of times in the course of a day. A thought arises, and the habitual tendency is to keep on thinking that thought or to do something with it, push it away, grab it, elaborate it, and little by little, with an understanding of the implications of verse 22 and 23 and 24, little by little, we are able to turn within the gaze, cultivate that inward attention in the face of experience, and not engage immediately. And if you don't engage immediately with what arises for you in your emotional and mental experience, if you don't immediately engage, when you go to engage, it will have already moved on. Do you know that rubric we laughed at as kids about having to go to the bathroom? Let's see if I can remember it. You gotta go when you gotta go, because if you don't go when you gotta go, when you go to go, you'll all find you've already gone. So if you don't grasp, push away, or elaborate a thought arising in that moment when you go to get it, to have your nice reaction that you like so much, the drama reaction or the whatever reaction it is, it will have already gone. It doesn't have a leg to stand on. It has no reality of its own. It's insubstantial. In fact, even if you grab it at that moment, it still isn't going to stay. You can't think a thought. And continue thinking that thought unless you acknowledge the intermittency of your thinking process. You can't hold a thought any more than you can hold water in your hand. It has no substantiality. It has no inherent, intrinsic existence. It's a thought. Arises, abides for an instant, it's gone. When you go to get it, you find it's already gone. Remember that. This is called bringing the sublime literally down to earth. So, is that computing? Yeah? Again, cultivate a slightly playful attitude at this point. Otherwise, you're going to make yourself miserable. Cultivate a playful attitude. Cultivate a playful attitude. There's a reason it's called display. So this point of study and contemplation, it's not ripping anything apart. It's showing that it was transparent to begin with. It doesn't have to be ripped apart in order for you to see through it. It's always been transparent. That's how it is that you can look within and see appearances as your own mind. So, okay. Shall we sit for a bit with this? Or do you want to engage in discussion at this point? Questions? I have some questions, but they're not related to what we're talking about at the moment. My thinking is that perhaps cultivating the inward attention as we sit here together would be a very good next step. Would you like to have some practice of that so it becomes a little more natural movement for you? Yeah? Good. So, in fact, we do that all the time. The inward attention is always engaged. We're always doing that, but we're not always doing it intentionally. If I ask you in this moment, what's going on in the back of your mind? You will immediately know, because you'll look. So, what's going on in the back of your mind? How do you know? Did someone tell you? No, you looked within, yes? You're very practiced in this skill already. We do it all the time. But we don't cultivate it necessarily. And so now we're going to cultivate it. So it becomes available to us to use for our purpose, not just to find out, well, would I rather have chicken soup or beef stew? I mean, even decisions like that we take by checking in. We call it checking in often, yeah? Checking in, let me just check in. I'm not sure, let me think. Okay, but we're not really thinking about it. We're not thinking, what's the nutritional component in this soup versus that soup, or which one do I like the best? We just look and then we know, oh, I really want chicken soup tonight. You know, it's not a big deal. It's a faculty that we possess and that we use constantly. So, but now we're going to dignify it, bring it up a level, call it cultivating the inward attention, because we want to see the seeing. Okay? So, eyes open. Now, I know many are trained to do what we call meditation with eyes closed. Actually, we see better with our eyes open. There's certain kinds of contemplations that you want to have your eyes closed for, but to see the nature of mind is not one of them. People fight me on this. I've had experiences in groups where I'm giving this kind of guidance, and people will stubbornly keep their eyes closed, and then I'll call them out. Say, wait, open your eyes. I don't want to. I always meditate with my eyes closed. And then I could, if I were snarky that day, say, my point exactly. So, give me a chance and maybe I'll say that. That's habituation. But how did we get into the condition we are presently in? By doing what we've always done. So let's do something different. Let's do an intentional cultivating the inward attention. And we're not doing it with any object in mind other than to experience ourselves able to see our mind. And we're not going to differentiate now, are we seeing the real mind? Are we seeing the wisdom mind? Are we seeing the relative reality of mind? We're just going to see whatever mind we see when we look within, eyes open. Now the eyes are not open like this, staring. They're not fixated. You're not looking at something. You're gazing. The same way you would gaze if you're sitting by moving water, or if you're sitting by a campfire, you're cultivating that gaze gradually as you sit there. There's movement on the water, there's movement of the flame, but you're seeing the movement and the flame, or the movement of the water, non-dual. You're looking at both, because your gaze is very relaxed. You're not counting the waves. Good luck with that. You're not counting them. You're just seeing them rising and falling. Same with gazing within at your mind. Thoughts arise and fall. Thoughts come and go. No big deal. It happens all the time. And you're seeing that, and with that inward attention, you're not fixating by looking at the thought that comes, trying to hang on to it as it goes, or trying to figure out where it came from, or did your mother make you do it? You're not doing anything with the thought that arises. You're just seeing. Thought arises, thought goes. If you don't interfere with it, it will go, and another one will come. Okay? So this is a non-doing. You don't have to do anything. You're just gazing within, which you do all the time anyway. Okay? We'll do a couple of rounds of that at very short periods. Yeah? So I'll gong in one time and I'll gong out 2 times. Yeah? Is it clear what the instructions are clear? Yeah? Okay, good. Enjoy. Now just shake yourself up a little bit. Wonderful. Wonderful. Practice that. and from time to time. What sees this? How do you feel? How's the room feel? How's your body feel? How's your breath? How's your mind feel? What sees that? Practice this. Let this be part of your day. And do this before you sleep also. Just a few minutes of this, cultivating the inward attention and resting in awareness. Just a few minutes before sleeping would be good. And any time in the course of your day. No one will even notice. They might wonder why they're feeling better, but they won't notice anything that's going on with you because you're not doing anything. You noticed an ease in your body, yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't grasp at that. No need. Just cultivate the inward attention. Let the energy rest within. Yeah. Awareness resting in its own channel. Not doing anything whatsoever. You're just seeing, breathing. And in that state, grasping can arise, repulsion can arise. You may happen upon a thought that just seems so delicious it must be elaborated, or so shockingly horrible that it must be elaborated. And again, gaze within. Nothing remains. Does that speak to any of the experience you had while we were practicing together just now? Yeah. So when you see that, you're seeing the power of the mind to be itself. You don't have to do that. That's not something that you can't make the mind be itself. Actually, you can hardly make the mind do anything, at least in my humble experience. But you can allow it. You can allow mind to just be. And we practice in little tiny episodes like this, really little tiny increments, and gradually expand them. That's the traditional form of training for this kind of awareness practice. Just, like a couple of seconds. Like some of these little intervals were very short. And then gradually expanding them, but you want to keep them short so that you're constantly habituating the clarity of the moment when you first go within. Yeah? That first moment of allowing the gaze to rest within is a moment of limpidity. It's just rest. You're just resting and there's clarity. That usually goes away very quickly. And then you think, what happened? That was going to be such a good meditation, or whatever you want to call this activity. Yeah? I would say that we can probably promise you that there will be that moment of clarity each time. But because it goes so quickly, and we want to hang on to it, we interrupt the hanging on to it part, and make a little gap, and then come back to the going within, the gaze within, in which again the clarity is experienced. We're habituating it's a new habituation. We're familiarizing ourselves with the natural clarity that is there always. It is a faculty of, or quality of, our true nature. So when we're simply glancing within in that way, it's almost casual. It's almost casual, isn't it? Just glance within. And so there's no stakes involved in something that's casual. There's no outcome that you're looking for. You're not looking for anything, you're just gazing within. And that moment of clarity will go, so you again and again habituate that practice that allows you to rest within for just an instant in the clarity and then to move on. 10 minutes. Even that's stretching it. But let's say 10 minutes. Because it takes a while to sit down. I'll give you 3 to sit down, right? And then it takes a while to get yourself together to stand up again at some point. So that's another 3, that's 6. So that's only 4 minutes of practice. That's good, okay? So we're not overtaxing ourselves. So did I count right? That was pretty good. Okay, so you gaze within, cultivate that inward attention, recognize, out again. Give a little break, move your shoulders around, relax, again. So within the 10-minute period, see, I took those 6 back. Within the 10-minute period, you might have 4 times that you cultivate that inward attention and gaze within and rest there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. You don't need more than that. And then you get up and do something else, and then maybe another time in the course of the day, maybe 3 times in the course of the day, you'll do a 10-minute session like that. So it's a very gentle process of just getting used to something. And remember, this is something we're doing all the time anyway. Now you're doing it intentionally, so you're going to get grasping and repulsion and elaboration about it. Because now you're making a point of doing that which before has had no point whatsoever other than just to see what's going on in your mind, which you do regularly. So just take that into your practice, that desire to have this. I want to now have this inward gaze. I want to have that. I want more of that, and I want to do it better, and I want to, I want to master that. Actually, you're not doing anything. you're not really doing anything. You might sit down, but you can also do it standing up. You can do it standing on your head if you can stand on your head. So you're really not doing anything. We use that word all the time. It's one of our favorite words. But you are allowing the inward attention, just allowing something that is very natural to you already, and you're appreciating, allowing and appreciating. You could also call it resting and recognizing. Okay? Good? And how does this relate to verse 22? So, you thought I was going to answer that question? No, that's one of your translucent pebbles. So, we're going to have a lunch break now. Our silence continues. That was a cluster of children that went by. Yes? We noticed a certain activity level, and it was a cluster of children, and they were headed in the direction of the dining room, so I don't know if they're here for lunch or not. If they are, please, if there's an interest in engaging with you, please suspend your silence to welcome our guests and to hear what the children have to say. Okay? And you can sit at the silent table, but maybe they're not able to read that. I don't even know, what language they speak or anything. I couldn't even see what age. It was just a cluster. I thought it was little white birds or something. They were wearing white shirts. And so if you want to maintain silence, you can. But if you're invited to speak in this circumstance, then I think it would be lovely to do so if you want to. Okay? Because how are you going to explain to a bunch of kids who are visiting a Buddhist temple for the first time, oh, we don't want to talk to you, but we want to free you from suffering and have you be very happy. Now please go away. I don't think so. Okay? Good. Thank you so much. Your attention this morning was just beautiful. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch. See you at 2.